My guests today are part of a growing movement that spans the globe and is changing the future of nations. Peace clubs are popping up all over Africa, and the hope is to change the future generation's view of how to solve conflict. Joining me today is the Peace Club Coordinator for MCC Zambia, ISSA EBOMBOLO, and Rick COBER BAUMAN, the Executive Director of Mennonite Central Committee Ontario, the Canadian partner to this important project. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Maggie.
So Issa, first of all, tell me about peace clubs. What are they?
Peace clubs, these are tools for teaching young people peace and conflict resolutions. It's an education tool.
And now how many, you started off with 3
We started with 3 in Zambia, and now they are in 6. They have grown into 650 peace clubs around the continent of Africa.
Wow.
In 14 African countries.
And Rick, tell me why it was important to partner with peace clubs in ISSA.
Well, Mennonite Central Committee is a relief, development, and peace organization, and sometimes people get stuck at the relief and development. So we are thrilled to have something like peace clubs and a partner like ISSA, not only in Southern Africa, but now increasingly here, there's a strong interest in peace clubs here in Ontario as well.
And ISSA, explain to me how peace clubs work.
We train teachers in peace and conflict resolutions, and then these teachers, they train a small number of students, and these students also, they train other students in their schools. And they meet once in a week, and when they meet, they discuss their challenges and the problems and conflict that surround their neighborhood and their families and their schools. And they also brainstorm on how to address these issues that affected them.
And so the idea is to obviously address issues in your community,
Yes.
but find a way to do it peacefully.
Yes. Yes, Maggie.
And so, Rick, when you hear about peace clubs, and you said that there's a desire to extend this into Canada as well, why is it important to do this, and how do you see it? I mean, when you look at African nations, there is a history of a lot of violence and unrest. How do you then position this for Canada, and what can we as Canadians learn from these peace clubs?
Well, as Issa and I have talked about this, we looked at issues like food security in places like Nigeria or South Sudan, where Mennonite Central Committee is involved, and we realized that the food issues there, the famine issues, are actually not climate related, they are violence related. And so the kind of work that ISSA is doing is really often related. While we see it as a peace and conflict, a response to violence issue, it often is, in fact, a response to food security and hunger issues. So when we look at the work that's being done in Africa, we say, we tend to think that those are solutions that are going to be kind of exported from places like Canada or the US, from the West. And instead we're seeing this is actually a movement of a gospel-rooted peace club coming back to North America, where we can work at our own issues. Gender-based violence would be a big one. And we've talked about how Jesus was always looking out for the interests of people who were on the margins, which included women. And I've been impressed watching ISSA in his peace club's work in Zambia and other parts of Africa, where addressing gender-based violence, certainly something that we need to deal with better here in our North American context. And we're just fascinated to see these tools be coming back to us when we've often thought that we've got the tools that we need to share with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Here they're coming back to us and evangelizing us in a way with the gospel of peace.
I love that. I love how it's kind of, the trajectory's kind of changed in a way.
Yeah.
So Issa, as you sit with Canadians, you talk about this peace and how do you obtain it when it comes to so many different issues in our country.
Yes.
What is the response like of Canadians?
Oh, the response is very encouraging. In the past 2 weeks, I've had a number of trainings. I've trained church leaders. I've trained school teachers, and the response is very positive. And people are willing to implement peace clubs in their communities because they are able to see the issues, the conflicts going on, and how people are involved in violence. And they thought this tool of peace clubs is very, very helpful. And I'm expecting this initiative to grow beyond even this province in Canada.
Now, you said 650
Yes.
peace clubs now.
yeah.
And how many schools?
This is
Many
schools. Yeah, yeah.
When you now see how you've been able to implement so many different communities, what does that look like now? How have you seen things change over these past number of years? And just the way people respond.
Yeah, I've seen a change of attitude because at first the people thought violence is the best way of resolving conflict. And now they have changed their attitude and they have discovered that you can't solve violence by using violence. It's only by using peaceful means that you can address any kind of violence. And there is always a difference between violence and conflict. And these are two different concepts that people have learned as well.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today.
You are welcome, Maggie. And it's nice to have us here.
Thank you for your interest in this important work.
Yes. Well, I just think of Jesus saying, "Blessed are the peacemakers," and how important that is in his span, and how important that is even today, that we can learn from people like ISSA who have been enveloped around issues of violence. And how do we be strong leaders of peace? How do we allow that to echo into our lives and into our communities? I hope that what you've heard today, maybe in your own life, maybe you need to just be that peacemaker in your own family, in your own community. Call our prayer lines if you'd love to just pray with somebody. Maybe you're going through a hard time and you just need to know that God blesses those who see peace and want peace in their lives. The number is at the bottom of your screen, 1-866-273-4444. Stay with us. We'll be right back.